Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome to the Game Week 5 pod of the FPL Wire. I'm your host, Zoph, and I'm joined by my co host, Late Riser. How are you doing, buddy? How was the birthday weekend?
Birthday weekend was good, man. From an FPL point of view, it was pretty painful. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Thankfully, we had Haaland, so we sort of matched our scores with the non-Haaland owners. But like Gordon at the post, Jota missed a big chance, Munoz had a big chance. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Isak gets a random halftime injury. The Muniz didn't start. Munoz didn't do well. So literally nothing else except Haaland, man. But weirdly. Yes, I feel bad about the rank and the score, but I'm not feeling too panicky or I feel like the ranks are too washed up and I'm looking forward to wildcarding either this week or next.
In hindsight, what mistake do you think you made in terms of picking the team and what we've seen so far? Do you think you made mistakes or has been just like bad luck, bad variance, whatever you call it?
Uh, I think one mistake is maybe going in with an Arsenal defender to start the season. I feel like too much planning and not focusing on the points on board. That might be a mistake. And the second thing is letting go of Salah when I all through preseason was on Salah and making that last minute switch. Maybe those are two small errors, but they aren't even big errors, in my opinion. They've that's about it.
They've been magnified, obviously, by the outcomes, like Arsenal 3 clean sheets in 4. And then Salah also, like we've seen, the 3 big hauls, which he got 3 back-to-back double digits. So, yes, bit of variance. But I think primarily my biggest regret is not picking at least one Arsenal defender. When we did think always, like, if you asked me the first 3 fixtures, you did see 2 clean sheets there.
Yeah. I said it must be said that the first two clean sheets were a little lucky. Like they weren't, Arsenal did concede their chances, and Raya had to pull off a few blinders. And that said, he's a world class keeper, so he's going to do that. Also, I think not reading enough. Putting our hands up on the Munoz and Henderson thing, doubling down on that with the fixtures. And I think this is a learning we take. There were more than 4 or 5 changes in that team that's happened. And what's happened so far as Glasner hasn't had a stable back three, a stable midfield partnership. I feel like after game two, if he had a stable midfield partnership or a stable back three, things would have improved. But things have been chopping and changing way too much. And maybe you pay attention to a team that's undergoing too much change early doors.
True that. True that. Pras is flying though. I'm not sure what rank is. I think he's about 30, 40 points ahead of us. He couldn't be with us today. But the big topics today we will be covering are obviously first up top. Let's just go first with the forward replacements. We'll talk with that. How itchy are you on the wild card?
I was, let's just say I was itchier yesterday than I was today. Today has been a holiday. So I spent more than a few hours looking at things, permutations, combinations, catching up on highlights, looking at the numbers. So I'm looking forward to chatting the pod with you. But I'd say I'm currently 65% likely to not wildcard this week. But it all depends on a few factors in terms of what Isak's injury status is going to be like, what Jota's minutes are going to be like, uh, those kind of factors. And I'm maybe an injury or two away from pushing the button this week.
Yeah. I think there's a lot to happen in terms of the Champions League, Carabao Cup, which we have to feed in. And obviously, we are going to timestamp this. We're going on Tuesday, the 17th of September. This is prior to all the Champions League and Carabao Cup games. And we're aware it is a little bit early. If there's any major news or information, we will see it in our team selection videos. And if there's something really big, we will probably do another pod on Thursday. But I don't
Yeah.
think so.
All right. And just early in, guys, make sure you're liking the like and subscribe button. We weren't idle during the international break as well as you guys saw. Pras did a great pod with Trout. If you haven't seen it on analytics, it forced me into subscribing to FPL Review today, which was quite nice. I spent decent amount of time there, so check that out. And I would also recommend check out the pod that I did with Alon because it's very wildcard Gameweek 5/6 macro relevant as well. So if you guys haven't seen that, see that and hit the like and subscribe button.
But let's get started with the sponsor plugs and we'll do the forwards discussion right at the top.
Right, as always, all the stats, the tables, everything that you see on our podcast are from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. And I checked, I think it's very useful, especially during wildcard season. So if you have a wildcard locked in for 5 or 6, even just for a month, I think it's worthwhile getting because you get to see lots of information in a very short period of time. So, and they do have a 40% discount running at the moment. So if you're a become a member, click on the link in the description below because it helps us out. We'd appreciate it.
And as you know, the NordVPN has been a long-term partner of the FPL Wire. If you are bored of the streaming libraries in your country, with NordVPN, you can access content outside your region, get access to a wider library on your favorite streaming services. And if you're traveling outside your country, you can access your home library content. Every purchase of the 2-year NordVPN plan using the link nordvpn.com/, the FPL Wire will receive an additional 4 bonus months on top. Let's take a break for the TV shows. Anything to recommend?
Yes, I finally when there was nothing, maybe last one. Now there are three shows that I'm watching at the moment. Uh, there's obviously the new season of Slow Horses, which has gotten off to a nice start. I'm really enjoying that. There is the new season of Industry, which has also been really nice. They've taken a different direction this season. I'm really enjoying that as well. And I sort of binge watched The Perfect Couple over the weekend, which is like a nice little character driven murder mystery sort of show. Enjoyed it. I mean, you don't take it too seriously. It's good popcorn entertainment, I'd call it.
I watched a show called The Night Sleeper from BBC iPlayer, 4 episodes in. Quite interesting about like a hostage situation. Or not exactly hostage, but I won't spoil it any further. Quite recommend that. Enjoyable.
And the good thing is, today they just announced that there's a Traitors version happening in India. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Right. Nord also has an efficient anti-malware and anti-spyware protection tool. It highlights any attack and deletes it before it makes a mess of your computer. You can grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/, the FPL Wire. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Sign up using the link in the description below. Right. First up, let's have the discussion on the forward replacements. A lot of people in that position where we don't know about the extent of Pedro's injury. I think from Hurstler's press conference today, the signs are optimistic that Pedro could be available. We don't know for sure yet. Vissa, we do know, is out for a couple of months. Muniz, whether he starts on the weekend again after Jimenez scored, is 50-50, I would say, at best. So the budget forward slot is being a bit problematic, I think.
Yeah, it's been a bit problematic, but thankfully, I think there's more than enough replacements if you're in the market as well. So I wouldn't panic too much. Especially the good thing is this week the weaker teams play the weaker teams. So there's good fixtures for those as well. So if you're looking for a 1 week punt before sort of jumping onto a bandwagon next week on your wildcard, I think you're covered. And especially the Pedro could be injured or Pedro could be the best Muniz replacement. Like he could, move between both of those sort of situations. With Muniz though, I think if you own him, if Muniz starts and doesn't do much, he has a game tomorrow, which is a cup game, and doesn't do much, then you'd worry. But if he starts and scores 2 goals, would you read too much into that?
You're talking about the Carabao Cup, right?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to say because, again, like Jimenez, he did what he was expected to do. A striker is expected to score, and he did score. So it would be unfair to take him out of the team. The curveball there was Jimenez not being called up for Mexico. If he had been called up, then I think we might have gotten a bit lucky. But he mentioned also that he wants his forwards to do a lot more than just score. He says, I've spoken to Raul and Muniz, etc., etc. So I just can't see a situation unless obviously Muniz goes completely ham and maybe there's an injury, something to Jimenez. I think Muniz starts.
Yeah, I think
Jimenez starts.
Jimenez starts. Yeah, realistically speaking, you have Muniz at like a 30-40% chance of starting. And given that scenario, you just need to sub him out if you don't have other fires. Pedro, I think, is likely, but now, I mean, Hurstler's now proof that he's also added to the category where a manager who can't be trusted. No mention at all of the Pedro thing. How much do you take his word for now?
Yep, very TBD on that. Let's just have a look at some of the data for some of the replacements now going forward. We've not included Joao Pedro here. This is from the StatsBomb data again, taken from the Fantasy Football Scout website. We have Nketiah now, who had actually 6 shots on debut. It was 0.45 xg. He was playing on the right side, like sort of a striker behind Mateta, alongside Eze. Lots of shots playing between the lines, a lot of praise from Glasner, straight into the team.
I'm waiting for your bait. When is he has a good fixture this week going to happen?
I mean, it's already known, right? I don't even need to say it anymore.
I was just waiting. I got a huge smirk on my face when we had the first Nketiah.
That's why he stopped right first.
Yeah. But yeah, he's a good pick for this week. He's not my favorite pick for this week.
Yep. I'm generally not that hot now on Palace in general. I think we have to curb our expectations a little bit.
I don't know, man. We talk about it when we're talking about like, let's just mention Palace because I feel like that player's good. The players are good. The manager's good. Yes, they've had like a zillion permutations and
Hmm.
combinations now. But I do rate the manager. I am not going to fully go back on the opinion that I had from Palace last year. I think as and when progressively the season progresses, this team I expect to be somewhere between ninth and 13th. I expect them to push up. They're not a bottom seven team in my opinion, and I think they'll perform accordingly. So now I'm expecting the team to stabilize, and as every week they will get progressively better in my opinion. I wouldn't worry. If you saw this week, actually Munoz and Mitchell were much more attacking than they were in the first 3 or 4 weeks. So I expect that team to get progressively better. I'm not too worried about Palace.
Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Lots of, I think, two glaring misses this weekend, but in terms of like the short chances he's getting, good quality.
Just good quality, and again, Dyche was dishing. We mentioned Everton on the pod we did with Alon as well. DCL is looking good. Like DCL, you always worry with him when it comes to the injury issues. But I think there is enough proof in the pudding now to say that he's entered he's fit until he's injured. Like
Hmm.
he's played now 4 games. That's enough proof. Now he's not dealing with niggles or anything of that sort now. So you put him in until he's injured. He's currently my favorite pick. If you're looking at a 1 week replacement, he's currently my favorite pick. He plays Leicester as well. Who've looked pretty decent themselves as well. But I just think Everton are doing well. They're creating enough chances, even against Bournemouth. Now we saw against your lot, Bournemouth were really good. They when it came to underlying numbers, they outdid Chelsea, and they are sort of like a sleeper team at the moment in terms of just how well they're playing, how many issues they're causing, and Everton were comfortable against a team like Bournemouth for the first 75, 80 minutes. So that says a lot about Bournemouth. I thought they played really well in the first half against Villa as well. So, you don't discount that. And DC is getting chances. Even at the back end of last season, he scored 4 goals in the last 7 games. And he's had 2 goals, 1 assist with multiple chances in the first half of the season. And he's got penalties, he's got minutes on his side. I like DCL as a pick. I think even on wildcard, he's somebody we need to consider because after Leicester, he's got Palace at home, Newcastle home, Ipswich away, Fulham home, Southampton away, West Ham away, Brentford home, United away, Wolves home. That's a good run. That's just a good run of blues to light blues or greens to light greens, depending on which fixture taker you follow. What are your thoughts?
I think Everton will get some results. They've been a bit unfortunate. Obviously, they've been generating good XG, which is a similar pattern to last year. But in terms of a talisman, I think DCL is quite clear in terms of penalty duties, in terms of getting big chances. My concern with him primarily was fitness rather than the team or the pedigree of the player. But the fact that he started the first 4 game weeks sort of like puts heat to that.
My one issue with DCL is, and it was a weakness that I had last year. So I want to ask you how much to read into that. That he was the biggest XG underperformer last year. There's signs of him missing chances still. Do you factor that into consideration, or the fact that he scored 2 goals anyway that doesn't takes that away? Because it's a weakness. Because I tend to go for the guys who get chances who don't finish their dinner. So how do you read this?
I think it's always going to be an issue with DCL, but ultimately, you want the forwards who get chances. And there's no X
And
minutes threat to him, right? Like obviously, now we look at Darwin. Somebody like Darwin, if he has a bad game, somebody is there to come in. These guys, I don't think really have that option.
yeah, he's Beto, and Beto's disappeared into oblivion at the
And the
moment.
new guy they've signed isn't really a striker, right?
No, he's playing on the right. So what's happened now structurally, which is why McNeil is also a pick. He's playing number 10. Dwight McNeil is playing number 10 and India is playing on the right. So McNeil also sort of plays like a 10, 9.5, which is why he's going to get a few more shots than he did last year. So he's chance creation on set pieces as well as he's playing further forward than he did previously. So at 5.4 million, McNeil's a pick as well this reason.
That's a very LR 2.0 pick again.
Yeah. No, he's changed position. Things have changed. Like he's turned into a number 10 now.
That's why, yeah. Otherwise, he'd be playing on the wing a lot, right?
He's playing on the wing. So he would be getting off more shots than he did. And right now he's leading the league for chances created amongst everybody. Kev is behind him for chances created so far.
Well, yeah. In terms of big
Yeah.
chances created as well, he's right up there. I remember seeing that earlier. Everton will turn it around.
Yeah.
At some
I mean,
point.
they're conceding chances. That's why. So what may I read about Everton while reading their fixtures and maybe looking at a defender if I was wildcarding is that I don't quite like the fixtures for clean sheets as much as I like for attack. Like just putting a more razor focus on the fixtures. We're looking at Leicester away, Palace home, Newcastle home. Like don't like those for fixtures. You got Ipswich away, Fulham home, Southampton away, West Ham away. So a lot of dodgy like away ties. With Everton, I like Dyche being Dyche at home. So that's why I feel like these might be better for attack than they are for defense.
True that. Yeah, I would agree with that fixture. We'll have a bit closer look
And
now.
it depends on Branthwaite's fitness as well. Until the time we see Branthwaite playing a game, we don't trust a defense which has Michael Keane playing as the centre back.
Right. This is some XGI data you sent me. Want to walk our viewers through it?
So this is just discussing what your options are, and we took the liberty of filtering till 7 million because in case you have money in the bank, etc. as well, these are options. Now Vissa would have obviously been my favorite option, and probably yours as well. If he was fit. Unfortunately, he's out for 2 months. Xerxes playing Palace, I don't think he's an option. I feel like it's an outside punt. He did get two big chances this game, but I feel like Everton and Leicester, Vardy have better games. Who do you prefer between DCL and Vardy?
It's a close one, and those are the two I'm debating now. Vardy has had only 3 shots. I think Vardy's map, we skip over it. Oh, yeah, there it is now. He's
Yeah.
had only 3 shots, but I think the average XG for each of those shots has been like 0.43. So he gets fewer chances, but he gets big chances. And with Vardy, once he gets the chances, he puts them away.
Correct. And he will get chances against Keane. Like it's that. So fair shout. And you think that the minutes the same. A lot of people are worried about Vardy's legs, etc. I think playing once a week, it's not much of a consideration until December when the sort of fixture really stack up. So I think if there is a time to get Vardy, it's probably now.
Correct.
Do you worry about him, his age and everything?
Not so much. Again, like you said, when the games are spaced out, it's fine. But he's been playing 90 minutes. I think he has, right? Haven't been following that very closely. He has not been getting subbed off as far as I know.
I'm on the FPL page. I'll quickly check that for you.
We'll have a look. But yeah, I don't mind him at all. It's just that again, you have to look at the chance creation. The chances.
The first two was 78 and 70, and then 90 and 90.
So he's building up because the problem was early doors. I remember the first few games he wasn't fully fit.
Exactly. Right, so we'll move to the table because there's a couple of options I want to discuss as well.
Go ahead.
Yeah. My question is, Evanilson, we know that, he might not have he missed the penalty. So I think Clivert might be on pens now because Andoni Iraola mentioned that it's going to be between Evanilson and Clivert for the pens. So I think now that Evanilson missed and it wasn't his best pen, I don't think he's a pick. What about Wood, who plays Brighton?
Wood's fixtures actually get a lot better also after somebody that's on my radar. It's got Fulham, Chelsea, Palace, Leicester, West Ham. And obviously Forest, they've started very well, and momentum is the thing. Early season, if you start the season where it sort of carries forward into it, they will be much more bullish, I think, after that win against Liverpool. So I don't mind that either. But again, obviously this week the entry point isn't great. I still think Brighton are a good defense. And again, Chelsea away, you expect Nuno to play very conservatively.
Fair shout. Go on. I have a couple more shouts.
That's about it in terms of. I think for me the standout picks are really very clearly.
Wait.
Go ahead.
One pick. What about Welbeck, and why not Welbeck? If we're considering Pedro, and if Pedro is ruled out, and we like the Brighton fixture against Forest, that said, Forest have shown themselves to defend well against a deep block. I don't think they were just lucky against Liverpool. I thought they defended well. I saw the game.
Absolutely.
So why not Welbs?
The fixtures. Ultimately, now see, we are the two categories of players you need to look at. People are looking at it purely as a 1 week punt.
1 week punt, yes.
Before wildcard 6, and obviously guys who have already wildcarded or planning to wildcard later. Now, if you're going for a 1 week punt, Vardy and the Brighton striker could be Pedro or Welbeck appeal, obviously because of the immediate fixture. But the fixture the week after for Vardy is Arsenal away, for Brighton is Chelsea away. Is not great. In which case, you don't really want to be investing for them long term unless you want to rotate them with somebody like a Rodgers, etc., down the line.
Leicester still fine because they have decent fixtures after Bournemouth, home, Southampton. Yes. So that's fine. But Brighton don't have great fixtures after. So that's the thing. So let's do our rankings for 1 week punt. Who's your favorite? And let's assume a scenario in which Pedro's fit and Pedro isn't fit.
Okay, that's interesting. I think probably Vardy, Pedro, DCL.
Okay, I'm DCL number 1. I feel quite good about Dominic. He's getting the chances. My number 2 would be Pedro, and number 3 would be Welbeck over Vardy. I just don't feel the Vardy love at the moment.
Why is
Maybe
that?
I need to come. They haven't created much.
I think they're 19th or something for chances created.
And Everton are 18th. But I just have seen more from Everton than I have seen from I thought that first half against Villa, that game against Bournemouth speaks a lot of what Everton have done. That's all. I do want to shout out a couple of suggestions though. If by any chance you're somebody who's got money in the bank, if you're owning Pedro or Muniz and have 1.5 million in the bank, What do you think about going for either Dom or Mateta? Because there are two strikers available at 7.5.
Dom is an interesting one. The entry point is obviously good this week. Good fixture in six. Then is Brighton, West Ham, Palace, Villa.
Decent fixtures.
Fixtures are decent. And again, he did have a couple of chances. I think he is going to be the focal point. But Spurs, do you think they're better this season or worse? I can't get a read on them.
I want to see them. Like, even like if you think about Dom and the shot that he missed, like he was open on goal and he took a little more time than he should. Like that goal was there for the taking and he gave the defender time. So his turn, his shot, everything seemed a little slow. And with Spurs, right, they create a lot and they do a lot, but it still feels like they're missing the finesse in the final third. And like until you see that clicking and see a couple of goals in, I feel like maybe I just want to hold on. Like Dom's a good pick, he looks good, etc. But I feel like that final third sharpness is sort of missing. What do you think?
I think minutes, he needs some minutes, obviously, under his belt to get
Because
fully
he's a
going.
good pick on wildcard. If you think about it, if people were wildcarding in for Brentford home, United away, Brighton away, West Ham home, Crystal Palace away, Villa home, that's a good run, man. That's not a bad run. You don't mind that. That's it. If you think about it, Brighton, like you don't know what to read of United's defense yet. Brighton is a little tough defense. West Ham are a tough defense. Palace aren't going to be easy. Villa is not going to be easy. So it's not a clean run of good fixtures. That's it. Do you need that with Spurs? So I can't get my head around Dom at the moment where they will continue to be attacking. They're sort of middling fixtures.
Yep.
What do you think?
Again, middling fixtures is probably a good way to put it. And 7.5 now seems like a lot when we're trying to squeeze in Haaland, Salah, Trent, etc. into our teams, right? I think I would possibly say just find a little more and go Watkins or Havertz instead.
It's more than a little more though. It's like $1 million more, $1.5 million more that they need to fight.
Yeah, I think, Watkins $1.5 million with Havertz is just 0.6.
Yeah. Like I feel like Dom is worth a punt if you're feeling it because we are right now somewhere in the middle. Otherwise, Zoph
We've
likes
also been
Guardiola.
burnt, right? We're also a little bit burnt by Dom from game week 1 because that sort of upset our team balance. So that's there in my mind. I'm trying not to let it affect it, but
yeah. And what do you think about Mr. Mateta now, who's probably getting 3 or 4 extra goals this season? Him on pens is a genuine option now.
But it's not a clear-cut thing, right? I saw a video afterwards, they were actually arguing about it. It wasn't like a very cordial handover. Eze was quite keen to take it, but Mateta just refused to give him the ball. So I don't know if that will necessarily continue.
So I reckon it's going to be, let's assume Palace gets 6 pens. It's where you used to think Eze has 6 extra goals for the season when you're trying to extrapolate that information. You probably say that 3 extra goals each for both.
Probably, yep.
That's still,
although there are fewer penalties this season, so whether it's 6, whether it's 3 or 4 remains to be seen.
It still counts for something. And Palace always did you see how many times Nketiah fell down? Like I feel like Palace are a team that will get pens. Like they won't struggle. Like there is like now Sterling in Arsenal, right? Like associate certain players with penalty winning ability, as being trickery, and Nketiah, Mateta's with his flick-ons. I think that's a team that will get pens. So I wouldn't read too much into that. So I think my perception of Mateta as a striker in that 7.5 million bracket, especially if he takes the next pen, has gone up.
Fixtures bit mixed. I see United, Everton, Liverpool, Forest away, then Tottenham, Wolves. The best run feels a bit behind them. It's not bad, but doesn't scream like leap out to me as well to buy.
Fair shot. All right, so we'd say that maybe Solanke, if you're feeling it, otherwise go with the cheap guys. DCL for me,
and I don't think there's like a clear one we can say that this guy is the clear standout replacement. I think the three we mentioned, I think the rankings could change. Like you would ask me this question on Friday, my ranking might change again.
Yeah, I like DCL. I'm very clear about that. I think he's a good pick. Like I think Everton have showed enough.
Fair shout. Yeah, Leicester's defensive numbers aren't great. Then the next 6 and 7 are at home. Then it's Ipswich, Fulham, Southampton. And we'll talk wildcard drafts. DCL, spoiler alert, DCL is in mine.
And mine.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we haven't even seen our drafts yet. So we'll be looking at them for the first time yet. So should we just jump into that discussion now?
Yeah, let's jump into the wildcard discussion. Why don't you show our team first so that, people can understand whether it warrants a wildcard, what we need to be thinking. What are your thoughts?
Right. So just read it out for the audio, guys. Henderson, Munoz, Robinson, Trent, Gordon, Salah, Jota, Rogers, Muniz, Haaland, Isak. On the bench, Winks, Johnson, and Bako. So ultimately, look at that now. Let's say what we've heard. Let's go from the top. Munoz this week, again, Are we going to sell him? There's not many much better defensive players this week, right? Ultimately, fine with Muniz, Robinson, and Trent. The backline looks fine. Don't think the immediate gains over there. Gordon, bit unlucky to score, not to score
So
last
wait,
week. Go ahead.
there's no immediate gains over there because the defenders you're likely to get are Arsenal's guys and City guys. The problem is Arsenal and City play each other. But objectively, I've been thinking about it, Zoff. Is Munoz with Arteta versus Pep? You know that it's the likeliest result is probably a 0 or a 1-0, like based on what we've seen, especially how Arteta played against Spurs. Like he's going to defensively set up. I'm pretty sure about that, especially if
Yeah,
he
but they
doesn't have
gave
Odegaard.
lots of chances, right? Spurs just should put them away. It's not like Arsenal completely shut them down.
I take Spurs getting chances with a pinch of salt. They're like there's like 10 low XG chances instead of one big chance. That's the problem with Spurs. Like Arsenal knew what they were doing and they look fairly comfortable most of the time. It's not, except for that chance that Dom had on the turn, there wasn't a real good chance that Spurs had, in my opinion. Genuinely wasn't a good chance. So like I'm thinking that probably, because Robinson also plays Newcastle. So it's like maybe your Arsenal defender is probably better if you consider set piece threat. I don't know. It's sort of 50-50. But what Zoff is trying to make as a point is you're not walking into nail down cleans. Maybe if your third and fourth and fifth defender are like Everton defenders or Villa defenders, then you're sitting better in defense on wildcard.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, getting back to the midfield, again, now Salah, obviously you want for this week, may not want next week. That's a big one. Rogers would probably stick around. Jota is an interesting one. Let's spend some time talking about him. Obviously, this is podding before the Milan game. What do you want to see in that game to make you feel better about Jota's minutes on Saturday?
Happiest would be 30 minutes. And whoever replaces him not having a good game, I would take 60 minutes and him scoring a goal. I wouldn't mind that. I would not be happy with him playing 85, 90 minutes and not having a good game.
Yes. I think you summed it up well. The second scenario which you mentioned probably be the ideal for me. If he scores and then he's subbed off, rather than the latter. Because again, go ahead.
If you think about it, like, I'll prefix this question a little. What did you make of your game against Bournemouth, and how do you read Bournemouth?
Bournemouth were much better than us. I think the game was a very stop-start game due to Anthony Taylor just constantly dishing out yellow cards. But Bournemouth very much deserved to win that game. It was a proper smash and grab from us. Bournemouth are a good side, but ultimately they will give you chances.
Did they give Chelsea chances?
Not that many, no. But it was more to do with Chelsea being poor, I think.
Exactly. So like, there are two reads to this, right? A, how do you read Liverpool's performance versus Forest? And you were telling me on Monday morning, where this is just a typical post-international break game week, where the quality of football generally has sort of subsided. Teams in general didn't look very good. Which was the same with Liverpool. I don't think Liverpool were as bad as that. Are as bad as that performance versus Forest. 0.99 xg. Even that 0.9 xg, they had a lot of control in the game. It was just that final third pass that was sort of missing, etc. So I think Liverpool are better than that. Now, how do you read the game versus Bournemouth? Because I think there are a few factors associated, especially captaincy this week versus a Watkins, for example. Like, I was talking to Jazz and he made a great point. Like, it's probably going to be like the Ipswich game, but Bournemouth are a lot better than Ipswich, where even if like Bournemouth with their aggressive press, etc., constrict Liverpool in the first 30-40 minutes, Liverpool are smart enough to take advantage of that by the time the second half comes around and score a goal. If you offer players like Diaz and Salah space, would you agree with that?
Yep, I think they'll give you chances. I think it's always an open game, usually Liverpool, Bournemouth. I remember this being, was this the 4-0? Where I think Diaz scored the brace and Salah, no, not the 4-0, 8 or 9.
I don't remember.
I think so. I think it was Liverpool, Bournemouth. So I see the fixture having goals. And again, Salah, I think, is going to be my captain this week. But this is pretty much the last game. I think I'd be willing to give Jota a run out. Because unless we hear that Jota is not starting, ultimately you're going to give Jota a try, right?
Yeah, because his floor is 30 minutes.
For 30 we don't know his rotation patterns yet for slot. Because again, the game is Tuesday, Saturday. It's not like a Wednesday, Saturday. This is a decent turnaround.
Got it. And if I really think about the matchup, I feel like Jota is more press resistant than Darwin is. Genuinely, I feel like this game suits Jota more than it suits Darwin. Genuinely, like in that system for slot. So,
Right.
and it's important to have these conversations because I feel like many players are in the same position as us and are genuinely debating sort of a wild card or not. So yeah.
So let's just jump into that. I think to visualize now, let's have a look at some of
Wait,
the.
wait, wait.
Go into
So
that.
while we're doing here, like we'll finish Rogers. Rogers is fine this week as a fixture. Let's talk about Newcastle and how you see that Newcastle Fulham game because we've got 3 or 4 players from that game. What's your perception of Newcastle, man?
They've not been good. Even against Wolves, it took a deflection from that share strike, and it took a wonder goal from Harvey Barnes. Wolves were the dominant side, and I don't think any of their 4 games so far you can say that Newcastle have been the better side. But ultimately, you can't argue with the results. They today have the same number of points as Arsenal. That says a lot.
It's weird because they've not been good. I agree with you, and you don't take that first game into consideration. But against weirdly, I feel okay playing Gordon and Isak if he's fit because I thought them blanking in the last game was bad luck. Gordon hit the post. Isak played Murphy through on goal, and he should have finished the chance. So, like, do I see a return or two amongst both of them? Yes, they're good for minutes. I'm not too worried. The problem with Newcastle is Eddie Howe, man. He's not been playing the right team, like playing Murphy instead of Barnes again. Barnes has looked Newcastle have looked a lot better when he's playing Barnes, not playing Trips again. With the moment he introduced Trips into the team, they had a lot more ball progression on the right hand side as well. Like he needs to get these players because Trips is a big upgrade on Liverpool. I've been saying this 4 times on this podcast. Like they need to go back to what works, and there's a little bit of a weirdness happening between him and the director Paul Mitchell. There, did you see what's
No,
happening?
I
They're
didn't
not
read.
talking to each. Paul Mitchell basically said that the signings that Newcastle have made are not good for the team. And Eddie Howe then came into a press conference and said that, no, man, I like the signings that they've had. And since 2 weeks, the manager of that club and the director of football have not spoken to each other.
Wow.
Like that's incredible. They're not spoken to each other. That's incredible. Like so, there's a little bit of underlying murmurs sort of
The fan base
happening.
isn't happy because even I remember the halftime of that Wolves game. You look at the Twitter feed; they were all like unhappy at their recruitment, etc., etc. But then again, they just turned around the result.
Yeah, and what I liked about Howe was the midfield clearly lacked something. And the moment he switched Willick and Tonali in for Longstaff and Joelinton, they were lots better.
True that.
So if Eddie Howe plays the right team, like there's a chance we can get away with getting a return or two in this game. That's all I'm saying. And again, the players that we get if we were on wildcard are likely Boomo for sure. He's better than Gordon. Is going to be Saka, who's going to be playing over Jota, for example. Now Saka plays City, so it's not the best fixture for Saka as well, right? So I'm trying to like extrapolate this where the problem in wildcarding this week is you want to target Arsenal and City on your wildcard, but they play each other in game week 5.
Correct. I know you might have Eze instead, but again, well, yeah, Eze has a better fixture, obviously.
Right. So yeah, man, and Muniz is rubbish. We're replacing him likely, right? Will you? Let's say if Isak and Muniz, I want to do scenarios with you. If Isak and Muniz both are injured, are you likely to wildcard or are you likely to take a hit?
That's a good question. I don't really know. And again, I need to talk you through, like, we need to talk through the drafts we have and see whether, like, there are marginal gains to be made there or not. Because ultimately, like, it all comes down to 2 or 3 transfers. There's going to be Jota uncertainty. What will definitely make me pull the trigger, I know, is that if we get a leak that Jota is not starting and Isak is out, that will definitely make me pull the trigger.
All right. If so, I've looked at things and I'll just like take 3-4 minutes to. Not 3-4 minutes, 5 minutes to talk through fixtures, etc., and sort of permission. I want you to give me a fixture ticker with Game Week 5 as a starting point. So I just like can talk through the differences.
Go ahead.
In front of me. So, like I thought about wildcarding this week versus wildcarding Game Week 6, and Zoph and I took you through what our current teams look like, and probably you guys have a little better or worse team. Now, what is the genuine advantage in having a Game Week 5 wildcard? I feel like if you're having a Game Week 5 wildcard and you definitely want to make it count, then I think you need to jump on Aston Villa's fixtures in Game Week 5 and 6, which read Wolves at home and Ipswich away. Like, I think this is a differential. And I feel like you might not necessarily have an Ollie Watkins in a Game Week 6 wildcard, but you will probably most likely have him in a Game Week 5 wildcard because I think Wolves is probably after Southampton one of the best attacking fixtures. You all scored 6 against them. They're not defensively that good at the moment. So that's one point. The second point in terms of fixture advantage that you could take at the moment is Spurs. Spurs have a decent fixture, Brentford at home, and they have a decent run. So if you punt on a Spurs attacker, they've got decent fixtures, right? It's sort of middling fixtures based on your perception of them. And the third point that I want to talk about is Salah over, not over Saka, but Salah as well. Like you will definitely have Mo Salah in your team, and you will keep him through Game Week 6 because he's got a good fixture this week, Bournemouth at home, and then he's got Wolves away next week, which I think is a really, really good fixture for Mo Salah. We are all thinking about building our Game Week 6 drafts and thinking of going without Mo Salah, but I think Wolves away is a really, really good fixture. Now, the fringe players that you're going to have in your team, whether you're talking about Rogers, whether you're talking about Everton picks, they're going to be on consideration on wildcard, whether you're talking about Palace picks that are going to be on, like Eze, who's going to be on consideration on wildcard, they all have decent fixtures this week. Like Everton has Leicester away this week. So whether you're attacking, going with a DCL plus a fringe defender, Boomo has a good fixture as an attacker this week. Like you're definitely 100%. I think in my head, when I went through the permutation combinations, there are 4 or 5 picks that were locked in on wildcard. I'll just read them out. Raya/Arsenal defender. You don't mind Raya, and I think he's a slightly better option than Henderson is this week. Yeah, Trent, who's going to stick in whether I wildcard or not. There's Boomo, definitely 100% nailed in on my wildcard, who's going to play Spurs at home. I think it's a very good fixture for a player like Boomo. And Watkins, who's got a money fixture against Wolves at home this week. Like these are the guys that are going to be my differentials if I wildcard this week. Now, I want to take you through the drafts. So if you could keep, what I did was the right way to do it was build a Game Week 6 draft first, so that I don't sort of have tunnel vision and have focus only on Game Week 5. So if you can go through my Game Week 6 wildcard draft.
This is no wait. This Pras' team. This is the. I think this is what you sent me. The one Havertz and Calvert-Lewin and
Yeah. So just generally taking you guys through the structure, Raya and Fabianski. This is a Game Week 6 wildcard draft. Raya and Fabianski as the keeper. Obviously, Arsenal have 3 great fixtures, so the triple up on Arsenal is there, which is Raya, Saka, and Havertz. City have good upcoming fixtures, which is why I've got Guardiola in there, and Haaland is in there because after Game Week 7, City. Haaland is a must, and then you decide which picks sort of crop up. Boomo is a must, as we see here. Calvert-Lewin. So more often than not in this draft, if you want to stick with trend, then you're going to have to pick 3 sort of 6.5 million or under attackers. So out here, I've got Semenyo, Calvert-Lewin, and Rogers. In that Rogers and Semenyo spot, you've got Shada, who's fighting for entry into that position. You've got McNeil, who's fighting for entry into that position. And you've got Calvert-Lewin, you've got a bunch of cheap strikers as well. You can upgrade Calvert-Lewin and go Luis Diaz down to a midfielder. Luis Diaz could be Bowen, Eze. And then I've got, so if you've got Trent and Guardiola, I've got like 2 very strong nailed on 4.5 million defenders in Collins and Milinkovic. There's Brentford are going to be sort of perma play from Game Week 6 onwards for a long
they
time.
have a good rotation with Forest as well.
They have a good rotation with Forest. So this is just a draft that I conjured up in about half an hour today. Now, if I was to wildcard in Game Week 5, I would want to not shift away from too much. And that's why the draft that I came up with, a Game Week 5 wildcard draft, which is trying to take advantage of the fixtures this week are, go on, Zoph.
What are you looking for again?
Game Week 5 wildcard draft.
Game Week 5 wildcard. That's the next image.
Just want to show the differences.
Yep.
This. So I feel like the truest way to take advantage, if you were to wildcard in Game Week 5, is say your loudest players and go without Erling Haaland in Game Week 5 and 6. Because you need to get Watkins, I feel like. Watkins at Aston Villa at home and Ipswich away is like a true differential point. And you need to have Salah for this week and next. So what are sort of the differences? Everything else around the fringe is pretty much the same. And what you do is in Game Week 7, when Haaland has Fulham at home, you sort of switch Salah and Watkins to Haaland and any 8 million midfielder. That's it. That's about it in terms of structure that changes. So what you're getting is Watkins at Wolves at home and Ipswich away versus Haaland at Arsenal at home and then Newcastle away. Now, Newcastle away is actually a really good fixture for Haaland because Newcastle are not as defensively good as they used to be. And the other differential is you're getting Salah this week as well as getting Salah next week. If you're wildcarding in Game Week 6, you're not necessarily getting Salah on on your Game Week 6 wildcard. So those are the sort of differentials. So based on injuries, I think this is the play versus what we showed as my team versus what we showed as a potential Game Week 6 draft versus what we showed as a Game Week 5 draft. Now, I feel like the aggressive way to take advantage if you are pushed to wildcard this week is to go with Watkins and Salah, who got two great fixtures this week and next. That's it.
I have a different suggestion to it. I'll just walk you through, guys, what I suggested as a game week 6 wildcard, and then we can work backwards from there. It's very similar to what you've got. Instead of Havertz, I've gone with Watkins, and I've got Gabriel and then for Guardiola. So it's essentially the double Arsenal defense, and I've got Eze in there over this one, Luis Diaz, which we
That's a good option.
It's a very similar structure. And again, your long-term glue guys and your Eze and Bumo. Semenyo is debatable, like you said, with all the options you mentioned, Shada, etc., etc. So what I would possibly do here, wildcarding in 5, I would do Watkins to a Pedro or a Welbeck, for example, as a good fixture this week, right? And a Saka to Salah, and keep the rest of the team the same. So what I would then do in game week 6 is just one move you have to do, right?
But why go Watkins to Pedro? Because Watkins is a prime fixture. I don't think you can downgrade.
Pedro can match him, right? Ultimately, that's what I'm seeing. That ultimately,
we need to have a conversation there, because I feel like Watkins is best captaincy this week.
Over Salah?
Over Salah. Like, think about Wolves and think about Bournemouth. Like,
it's a derby game. The derby game, I don't know. I always think that these teams play above their potential. A visiting team, I think there will be, and ultimately, I don't know what effect. It's a good thing that they're playing today. They're playing young boys and they're playing the early game, but that's going to be in that plastic pitch that young boys have. I know these are all possibly reasons. I'm looking for confirmation bias, but I just don't want to book in a transfer of Haaland later down the line. I just want Haaland, and this just scares me selling him.
No, so you get Salah, but you find a way to like do it.
You can't get Salah. You can't get Salah, Haaland, and Watkins. Yeah, this is a game week 6, but I'm talking about what I would do in game week 5. The only two changes: Watkins to Pedro, Saka to Salah. Watkins to any 2.6 million forward, basically.
And then you have to do Salah to Saka next week if need be. Actually, don't even think there's a need, because Wolves away is a good fixture.
Exactly my point. You don't have to, in case there's fires elsewhere, you don't absolutely have to do it. It sort of gives you that flexibility. Okay, fine, I'll carry Salah. I'll carry Pedro, because you don't need to play Pedro the next week, right? You can play Semenyo, who's at home to Southampton in game week 6. You can play Rodgers, who also has a good fixture. So you're not necessarily booking in a transfer that you have to do.
Yeah. I hear you, man. But like, if I was wildcarding this week, I'd have Watkins and Salah, and then figure out what to do elsewhere. Like, your point is you'd much rather lose one of Watkins or Salah than lose Haaland. Yeah.
Because I think Haaland just would it like
different
league altogether. And like, obviously the odds are very low for him to score a hat-trick against Arsenal. But today, I told you the Monday open, Haaland scored a hat-trick against Arsenal. You'd be like, oh really? Okay. It wouldn't completely blow your mind.
It would, man. It's Arsenal, man. We're talking about the best defense in Europe at the moment.
Yeah, but this guy, like, 2 chances you give him, he gets 2 goals.
Yeah, he's a lot better than this year, but he has struggled against centre backs. And I think this is a true test in terms of seeing what happens also. So yeah, but fair point. Like, a fair point. It's. I just feel like the aggressive play would be to try catching a Watkins haul that nobody else is going to. Like, genuinely, I think there's play there. Because Wolves have been leaky as hell, man. Like, they genuinely concede chances for fun. Genuinely.
They have been, and I think it'll be very different because of the derby game. They will set up a bit more defensively.
For sure. All right, man. That's that.
Something else I've been thinking about, and somebody that's in my thoughts, is Phil Foden. Like, a Trent down to a 4.5 defender can make Eze into a Foden as well.
Yeah, it's just that we need information, right? Like, Foden's not played. And I wonder if it's like the same mistake that we made with like a Solanke at the moment. Like, we need to see what Foden's role is, etc. Like, I'm almost happy to even throw Palmer in there if going early in that 9.5, 10 million midfield bracket, and then see what City look like, and then get the right midfielder, whether that's Foden, whether that's Kev, whether that's like a Savio in game weeks 8, 9, delay that move, because I feel like we need to see proof in terms of what Pep is thinking for the season. We just don't know yet. Like, I think that's the thing with City. Like, I don't want to jump Foden immediately. It will take one game of seeing Foden as playing as the ancillary striker, and I'm like, I'm in. But I need to see that first, because Pep tends to evolve and change his teams up sort of every time.
Let's talk a bit on Brentford. What do you think the impact will be of Wissa's injury? A, will it make them worse? And B, do you think Boomer is going to be playing up top, or is going to be somebody like a Shada or Carvalho?
So Brentford have 2 formations, right? They play either a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-3. In the fixtures, So what happens? You can't even extrapolate what's going to happen in the Spurs game to the fixtures that you're going to see ahead, because it's very likely that against Spurs they're going to play a 3-5-2, and then in the easier games later, which is going to be 85% of the games after, they're going to be playing a 3-4-3. My money is on that 3-4-3 is Boomer plus 2 of Shada, Carvalho, and Lewis Potter. That's it. And Shada's played off the left and played at the central. He can play both positions. Either way, Boomer's like an inside striker. I don't care too much. He's on pens, and I don't mind him off the left because he's more inside striker than winger. He's nailed on pick. And yes, there will be an impact of Vissa sort of affecting Brentford. I don't think the impact will be that great. I think Shada's good. I think Carvalho is good. I think Lewis Potter is decent as well. And Brentford aren't reliant on individual brilliance as much as they're reliant on systems.
True that. I do think it'll be more 4-3-3 in the fixtures we have to come. And just again, let me just read out the fixtures again for Brentford as they're coming up. This week, obviously, is Tottenham. Then it's West Ham, Wolves at home, Manchester United away, Ipswich at home, Fulham away.
Yeah.
Good run of games.
Yes, we have a message from Rehan Bashir. Definitely having Haaland against Newcastle defense, the amount of space they gave Wolves, which is true. Like, I was shouting at the screen, man. I think it was Murphy who had the ball right in the 93rd or 94th minute, and both Gordon and Barnes were through. And he just had to play an easy ball through the defense, and Gordon was open, and he decided to cross it, and then Barnes played the ball to Gordon, but Tonali intercepted it. Did you see that as well? Like, I was like, there's so many chances of
I know
almost.
what you're talking about,
yeah, right at the end. So
let's just go through what Pras has sent us as well. I'm sure people would like to know. This is Pras's Wildcard 6 draft. Similar goalkeepers, Raya. Mosquera, he's gone with as a cheapie. I think both of us have gone for Greaves. He's gone for Porro, Dunk, Pinnock, and Trent. Again, because I think the Brighton rotation is what he set up with Porro and Trent playing every week. Saka, Rogers, Eze, Bumo, Bowen. Very similar structure in midfield then. We spent a bit
love
more.
the Bowen pick also. Bowen is a legit conversation to have next week.
What are the fixtures? I think the fixtures, again, I remember looking a bit mixed.
Really good.
Is Manchester United, yes. Brighton, West Ham, Palace, Villa. What? It's a fact.
The fixtures are Chelsea, Brentford, Ipswich, Spurs. I don't know.
Oh, wait, I was reading the wrong. I was reading that from Tottenham. My bad. Brentford, Ipswich, Tottenham, Manchester United.
Yeah, good fixtures. In general, good fixtures. You don't mind them. Like, I feel like Brentford, Ipswich, Spurs, decent Bowen fixtures, man.
They are. Yeah. And again, Bowen might be a better pick than Eze. I think we're always looking for those glue guys. Your Eze Bowen fit the bill perfectly over there.
Yeah, and I haven't ruled out Diaz because I just have a feeling about him this season.
Right. And he's obviously.
And I think that Wolves fixtures are gone anyway.
I think, so he's gone again with a similar structure, one cheapie, one mid price. And up top, he's got Haaland over here. I think he mentioned in the WhatsApp, I think he would do Havertz down to a cheapie and then Saka to Salah. Something similar. I think he had mentioned Havertz to Vardy and Saka to Salah. Accordingly,
if he was wildcarding this week.
5. Yeah.
Yeah. So he would also not jump on Ollie Watkins this week.
No.
You guys are prioritizing Salah. I guess the listener's answer is who you want as the captaincy option this week. You go for that.
Ultimately, you are prioritizing Haaland. Haaland versus Watkins is what it's coming down to, right?
Yeah. And it's coming down to, like, if there is courage in my conviction, if I'm wildcarding this week, that Watkins is a better captaincy option than Salah. Because that Bournemouth game is tough to read because Bournemouth are good. Like, Bournemouth are legit good. Like, I feel like fixture difficulty wise, Bournemouth is definitely orange. Whereas,
let me just ask you, like, I know the answer to this probably, but would you have maintained this stance if Watkins didn't score this weekend? Last weekend, rather?
No. But I do believe in confidence
matters. I know it's obviously a bit of a redundant question because confidence, especially for forwards, does matter. I agree.
Yeah, confidence, and I think how many minutes did he clock this week? I think that's also an important factor.
I think he played the full 90.
83. Like, 83? That's the thing. If Watkins was subbed off in the 60th, 65th minute, I would have my doubts. But Watkins played 83 minutes, and that's a big green flag for me.
Right, and they will be up for the derby as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So my question to you is, just as things stand, where are you and what would change your decision?
Let's just go back to our teams again. As of now, I'm leading on doing Muniz to either Calvert-Lewin or Vardy, or maybe even Welbeck. I haven't really decided. I'm going to see how the teams look in the Carabao Cup and stuff, and how I'm feeling on Saturday, that will likely be left late. If just Isak is out and Jota, we get some sort of confirmation he's starting, I'll probably just do a hit maybe, because I don't think I'd like to wildcard right now. Based on that, I think there are possible gains
You
this
can
week.
do Isak to Watkins, and you need to just downgrade 0.1 anywhere in the team. I've
Yeah,
looked
exactly.
at that
So
transfer.
and again, Muniz to Calvert-Lewin is a perfect funding for that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's all we need. So I'd probably do that move, because again, Watkins, you see, get that immediate upside over there, and I wouldn't be having Watkins if I wildcarded, right? Because we just discussed he would be the downgrade in my team.
Yeah. So and like I want to cite this out to listeners, where because of the fact that Arsenal and City play each other, and most of you guys probably have a decent bunch of Liverpool players in place. I feel like bleeding some points, or EV as they call it these days, this week is worth the extra bit of information for having a clear sight of picks next week. Genuinely think it's worth it. If you can just about get away with it, like I'm the same as you. If I can help it, I'm happy to take a -4 as well to play out like 11 players, right, this week. And the best way to cite this is if you can go to like a wildcard draft.
Yep.
Right. So even if you have a wildcard draft, not this one, the wildcard.
Let's go to yours.
Yeah.
No,
So
is this yours?
yeah, but like I want to show a wildcard 6 draft, because if you're not compromising on Watkins, then like you don't have much to gain. And the risks you're taking are against people like Haaland. Like the slight advantage would be in defense, but even in defense, Guardiola plays Arsenal, Collins plays Spurs. So you're relying on Milinkovic, who probably plays Brighton away, and Greaves, who plays Southampton away. So the fixtures in general, like you might think that your fixtures for defense suck, but everybody's fixtures for defense pretty much aren't great this week. That's the point. So if I can help it, I'll take a -4 C out this week and then wildcard next week if I could help it. I wanted to have this chat with you because you're sort of formalizing thoughts in your head as well, and sort of setting your, what's it called? Preconceived notions, setting my prayers. Yes. All right, man. That's that.
Cool. Let's do a sleeper plug, and then we'll just dive back into some of the results and some takeaways from
Yeah,
last
it's
week.
takeaways. Sure.
Like,
So, I mean, the big story is we won.
We won.
Yeah. So the first game is we won against FPL Sala, and it was really close until the last game. It was tied, and both of us are some of the lower score teams. So what we did was we act sneaky and we subbed. We made a long-term sacrifice in getting rid of Luke Shaw, and we knew that Murphy was starting. This is where the in-game management helps, and we just put him in because we needed some starting minutes. The only way we would lose is if Murphy got a yellow or a red card, and that's why we won by a point. And now we have our ex-boy, big man Bakar, against us next week. And I think this is the best time to play Bakar, because Bakar's pick 1 and pick 2 were Haaland and Gabriel, who sort of face off against each other. So like if you want to play Haaland, you'd play him when he's playing Arsenal, right? So what do you think about our chances this week?
Pretty good. I think I like it. Saka's obviously the sort of counter plays. Over there, Pedro is a big one, Soboslai, Barnes, etc. I think it's pretty good, Bakar. You're going down.
Yeah, man. And we need Pedro fit, though, this week. That's the thing. Yep. If Pedro's fit, will you go him or Vardy or DCL?
Probably not Pedro, because everybody in the dog seems to have Pedro, right? Try to gain some edge over there.
And do you read out, they play Forest, right? So Forest do defend well themselves as well. So maybe like there's an edge there. Exactly. Same thoughts.
Let's talk about our picks also for the pick'em ones this week. I think most of the consensus, I've gone for a draw for Chelsea. You guys have gone for a win. Villa, we're unanimous. Leicester, Everton, Pras and I have gone for draws. You've gone for an Everton win. Liverpool, unanimous. Fulham, Newcastle, I've gone for a draw. It feels like the 1-1, 2-2. Do you guys, Newcastle? You're backing Ipswich. I think Southampton will get a draw. Spurs, obviously. Palace, backing them against Manchester United. Brighton all the way. City all the way.
Nice, man. It's interesting that you're not confident of a win against Chelsea, against West Ham.
West Ham, we always struggle at that ground. It's not been a good place to visit for us. The first kickoff, etc., just feels like a weekend ruiner right there.
Fair shout. All right, so guys, if you aren't already playing, make sure you're downloading the app and joining our Pick'em League, because there's kits to win. We shipped out all 4 kits last week, and I think everybody's received them except for one person. So yeah, do that. Join our leagues, and if you aren't drafting, draft with your friends because it's a great fun, and it's just nice to, especially when you're having a poor week in FPL. Like I sought happiness from our win against FPL Salah, right? So it's nice to just have that as a little bit of a distraction as well. So yeah, get playing.
Let's go back to this. I'm just going to bring that up. There we go.
All right, guys, and also just hit like and subscribe if you haven't. We've got 500 people in the chat. I don't know how many likes we have at the moment, but it'd be nice if you could help our algorithm. It doesn't
only
take
100 likes.
Yeah, man. Get us to 250 by the end of the stream. It's not too much of an ask. We'd really appreciate it. Takeaways.
How do you want to go? Let's just go game by game from last week, and then we can play with the fixtures. I think Southampton, Manchester United, the penalty obviously switched the game about a bit, but after that, you guys were pretty good.
Yeah, but it's a free game. You don't read much out of a result against Southampton. So, and they're not under consideration anytime soon. So
let's
avoid.
just move it on. Yeah, Brighton, Ipswich around 1.73 XG for Brighton, very low for Ipswich. Ipswich can defend. I guess what they showed, a lot of it was down to Burich. I saw Burich made a couple of really nice saves.
Yeah, but Ruto looked good. Like he had one good chance and he looked good, and so did Webbs, and Evan Ferguson is fit. So there's too many guys in the Brighton striker spot. And I think if you're wildcarding in Gameweek 6, you're going to get rid of Brighton. The fixtures are tough after.
Probably.
I was monitoring Ipswich though. Because they do have a decent enough fixtures Gameweek 6 onwards, but nobody stood out to me as an attacker. And if I was interested in Delap, but he got subbed off in the 60th minute for Hurst, so that's the takeaway.
Right. To talk about Palace Leicester a little bit. Leicester went 2-0 up before Palace came back. Again, Palace dominated the numbers in terms of XG, but Leicester liked playing on the counter, and they could have had more here.
Yeah, like there's something up with Guehi also. He doesn't look like he's in the best of form.
It's a partnership, right? With all centre backs, you need a partnership.
And it's been changing all the time. Like Klein randomly played this game, so I mean, and I think that
Wharton came on. Wharton or our boy Hughes. Will Hughes came on second half.
And I think that the other centre back that they bought is injured. Chadi Riyad, he's injured for a while as well. So there's no stability in the midfield, in the spine, whether that's midfield or the back three, and they need to sort this out. I can't wait to get rid of my Palace defense. Yeah, they will improve, but at the moment, you buy chips into this team again when they improve defensively.
Yeah, the best fixtures are gone now.
Yeah, that said, Muniz probably deserved an attacking return out of the last 2 games. He did enough.
I guess, yeah, to say first 4 games, maybe he should have had one more attacking return. He did get one in game week 1.
Yeah.
He had a big chance over here. I think he hit it at the keeper.
No, he had a big chance, and Anderson slid it at the last minute. He was through. He was open. Eze sort of dribbled on the left and then played the ball through. Muniz was alone in the center of the box, and then out of nowhere, Anderson came.
Anderson?
Sorry. Some defender.
Some lesser defender. Yeah.
Sorry, my bad.
But Eze's numbers were decent. I think let's talk about Eze. A lot of people still have him. I think you can still very much hold on to him. Penalties, obviously, does take a bit of the sheen off him.
But not 100% penalties. I'd say 30-40%.
It could be a Saka Odegaard situation.
It could be a Saka Odegaard situation. We don't know at the moment. And I would have presumed that Mateta, being the more sort of aggressive, selfish sort of guy, that he keeps the pens. But the information that you gave me, where they were sort of arguing, makes me think that it will be split fairly.
It could be, or it could be just like I take it until I miss.
Yeah.
We don't know that.
Still a good pick. Like no hurry to sell at all.
I don't know, but I can think that 7 million bracket is going to get a bit interesting now in the coming weeks. I think there are going to be a lot of other names that might crop up.
Yeah.
Like I said, Bowen, etc. is definitely in the equation now.
But like Bowen also doesn't have pens. So it's open play threat Eze versus open play threat Bowen, and Eze still has set pieces. So that counts for something, you know. So it's not like Eze is definitely a worse now, except for Boomer. In that bracket, nobody else has pens. Nobody. So you're only then you go up to Saka and Palmer and Bruno.
Probably
who
Gibbs
paying
White,
more.
I think 6.5. Does he even have pens? We don't know.
And he has significantly worse open play threat compared to these guys. So I mean, you're comparing against other people who don't have open play, who don't have pens either. And Eze could have 30-40% pens still. So you know that weight needs to be in consideration.
Fulham, West Ham. I thought we were very unlucky to lose the clean sheet over there. Leno really should have
Swan.
saved that shot.
I mean, everything, right? They switched off. Genuinely switched off. Like everybody was pointing, etc., and they just switched off. And Ings took advantage of that, man. Otherwise, Fulham looked fairly decent, must
ESR
say. Like,
stats were quite impressive from this game. 3 shots and 3 chances created. Those are the best underlying numbers he's had yet.
and he looked good. This game, he looked good. Like Loki, going to be a good pick all year. Just fixture dependent. I do wonder how do you feel about Gordon and Isak versus Robinson? Generally people think it's the worst thing. I don't mind it. I feel like at least something you'll get from this game. Like if
Robinson is for the attacking returns, and ultimately it's
Yeah.
not a very big clean sheet thing anyway.
And if he's losing his clean sheet, it's likely that my attackers get returns. Like I don't mind that. Just I'm okay with that.
Yep. But again, Fulham, I think this is probably the last good fixture because again, Forest away isn't great.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Liverpool.
Liverpool Forest. Well, just shout out to Nuno Espirito Santo. Good bit of management there. As soon as Bradley came on, he threw in Hudson-Odoi on that wing, and Hudson-Odoi caused Bradley all sorts of troubles.
All sorts of problems, completely.
Yeah. We've been unlucky as Trent owners though. Like 11 chances created, not one assist. Should have had an offside goal. Should be a lot more. Is he a permanent fixture in your wildcard no matter what?
No. I was discussing this with some of the Discorders. Now again, Wolves away, Palace away, they look like decent fixtures for your attackers. But defensively, you'd could back both teams to score. Then it's Chelsea. And after that, I think is Villa and stuff. Let's just have a look over here.
Chelsea, Arsenal.
Then Arsenal away. So keep Bournemouth aside. We're talking Wolves away, Palace away, Chelsea at home, Arsenal away. And even then it's Brighton, who we know are a decent team. My guess would be an optimistic 3 clean sheets out of 5, which is a good number, but I would say it's be closer to 2. But again, it comes back to who you use that money for. Like, let's say Foden is an option. I'd rather have, let's say, a Foden and a 4.5 defender versus an Eze and a Trent. I say that, I'm not really sure. Maybe I don't know.
I'm in a separate bracket at the moment. Trent, glue guy, nailed on. Like I just feel like if I can help it, and I want to say that specifically so that I can maybe stick to that when I'm building a wildcard team that next year, because he gets 2 or 3 very good chance involvements every week. Like with him, you don't look at volume, right? Like, how do I put this as an example? Like 3 chances created from Trent Alexander-Arnold are much, much, much greater. Like 3 greater than arrows. 3 chances created by Diogo Dalot, for example. Like it's not just the volume, it's also quality, right? Like Trent is generational in terms of how accurately he puts the ball at the top of the head of the sort of the chances he created. Or like a direct free kick for Trent is just way better than 90% of the other players in the league. Like he's that good, and he's got the freedom. And Liverpool, like we discussed at the top, are playing with a little more control. So they might, through until game week 18, get 3 more clean sheets this year than they did last year. So all those sort of things add up. And in a game where we want to shift the big hitters, I don't want to lose Trent. And I feel like it's also a nice money park, right? At any point, if you feel like, okay, we need to upgrade money for Foden, you bring him down.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm with
I'd
Trent.
probably start with him and then see how Foden looks. Maybe see if I want to squeeze in Palmer later and then look to drain that.
But then why not just do the like for like switch? Like move around your Saka after game week. I think he's got 6, 7, 8. That's good. Then 9, 10, 11 is different.
Exactly. And you can use that money to fund, for example, like let's say your Saka to Salah with the Trent downgrade again.
Exactly. If you feel like. If you feel like
obviously
Trent
everything is contingent to that, but
impressive. Want to talk about the Liverpool Bournemouth game? Because you've talked me into like, this is right. Like I was very hot on Watkins before I came in on the pod. But you also made me realize that Liverpool are the kind of team that will take advantage of Bournemouth's press, however difficult they are. So
they're not a deep block team. That's what Slot mentioned, that the challenge we faced, that this was the first time we were up against a deep block. Something they've not encountered so far.
And the only proper press team that Liverpool have faced so far is Ipswich in the first 25 minutes. And they got out of that and took advantage of that beautifully. Who do they have? Who have they played so far? They played Ipswich, Brentford, United, and Forest. So Brentford deep block, United shit defense, Forest good deep block, and Ipswich was the only team where they played sort of like a proper pressing team in the first 30-40 minutes. So they could take advantage of that.
I mean, Brentford, like, they played very differently. Let's move on to the segue to the next one. Brentford against Man City pressed them hard. The first 25, 30 minutes, Brentford could have been 2-3 up.
Yeah, they played really well. Brentford are just good, man. That's why, like, I wish I had Boomo this week. I think he's good for points this week.
I still need to see how they set up, and I think we have to take note of the Carabao Cup lineup because Frank said that you will see from the lineup how seriously we are taking that. So that's pretty self-explanatory, right? If he plays a rubbish team, I don't
Yeah.
think he'd be saying that.
City, 2 talking points. What's your perception of Rico after the game?
Rotation risk now.
Rotation risk now? Yeah,
I
man, my
mean, it was always
perception.
a concern when your Stones, Walker, everybody came back.
And what's your perception of Guard now?
Guard was a lot more attacking again, but he
The,
was rotated. Now with the Champions League, so many options around there. And the thing is with City, the defense isn't inspiring confidence. It's always a one chance that they're giving up. It's very frustrating. I like today now, let's say you can't really afford, I would say, more than 2 premium defenders in your team. And I
yeah,
think the clear options are your Trent and Gabriel. Then it comes
yeah,
down to between your Porro and your Guardiola.
correct. Agree with you. Agree with you.
So he's definitely a peg lower than the first two we mentioned.
Yeah. Is De Bruyne going to be an option this year?
With the Champions League, when the rotation, the fixtures come, I don't think so. It's
I
again,
think so.
short term is someone with a high ceiling, you go there, but they are going to be frustrating games like the game against West Ham.
Yeah, we need to find trends because on Wildcard or Fulham, Wolves, Southampton, Bournemouth, you're going to want a second bite of that City attack. And I don't know if we'll get enough information by that time.
Right.
Also, one of the reasons to wait until next week for the wildcard because you could get that information by the time next week comes out.
The later you wait is obviously the advantage, but there is obviously a big swing like we've seen for all of our assets. And I'll go back to the ticker again and illustrate that. We've looked at the
Yeah.
positive side of that. We also look at ideal exit points for these assets, right? We'll go
Yeah.
back and look at that once we wrap up this
And I
discussion.
think the biggest swing is obviously Arsenal to Liverpool. Sorry, Liverpool to
To
Arsenal.
Arsenal, yes.
And the problem is that Liverpool have like we could easily be sitting on Salah's missed out on Salah's 15 points against Wolves away. Like genuinely could happen. Like
And that's going to be a case. We talked about this already, and we saw that with this case this week to a smaller extent. Saka got the assist. There are going to be burns this season. I think you have
yeah,
to choose your which approach you're going to play. Like one, I'm going to back the player. I'm going to back this team. This guy is going to stay in my team regardless because I think he's a points machine. Or I'm going to hop off and play the fixtures. I think the worst thing you can do is possibly a hybrid of both because then you're going to miss out the benefits you get from each one.
yeah, very sharp. Very sharp.
I
Will
think
I
like,
ever
I haven't honestly decided. I'm going to leave that for a little bit later.
what?
Whether I'm going to be selling Salah for game week 6 or not.
Yeah, man. Because it's a great fixture. Wolves away is just a good fixture. And there's an easy way to avoid Saka also. Like you can go in with 2 Arsenal defenders and Kai.
And Kai,
And
absolutely no. Ultimately, the thing is captaincy. Now
Yeah.
let's go look at captaincy again for game week. Now for this Arsenal ones we're talking about. Now for Leicester, Haaland that week has Newcastle away.
Which is a good captaincy option.
Absolutely good captaincy option. Newcastle at home will go for it. They're not parking the bus. Yes,
Exactly.
Southampton at home, Fulham at home for Arsenal. Sorry, City. You go Haaland.
Everything else becomes a moot point because now
Everything
Haaland
becomes a
is
moot point.
yeah because Haaland is just a good captaincy option irrespective. Like
Correct.
the other captaincy option is Watkins next week.
Right.
Next
So-
week.
Absolutely. So if you can retain Salah and Havertz, along with let's say a double Arsenal defense, it could very well
Yeah.
work. But Achu in the Discord was mentioning he prefers double defense for the short term at least because of the Odegaard injury.
Yeah.
Because a couple of these fixtures which we just discussed, the good fixtures, 6 and 7 will be with the Odegaard injured.
Yeah. So I was thinking about it, right? How the games might play out, etc. as well. Like Raya, you like as a long-term hold because Raya is good 8, 9, 10 as well. When the tougher fixtures are there, because he could easily chance upon a 10-pointer with a few saves, etc. Why are we big on Raya, by the way? This season is something we extensively covered on the Alon pod, where we said that now keepers are likelier getting more bonus points for clean sheets compared to more saves made. And it's the cheapest entry to the hands down the best defense in the country / Europe. So it just makes too much sense to go Raya because you don't mind him in the tougher fixtures because he could get a lot more saves. So it's just that. And versus Flecken. Flecken is a decent consideration for a wildcard or Areola. And the second thing is Leicester and Southampton, these two games, it's going to be a lot of control and attack from Arsenal. but it's also going to be a lot more set pieces from Arsenal. Like the more you attack, the more chances you get to get a set piece into, and that means Gabriel and Saliba are in play, just generally in play.
The thing is that with the Arsenal guys, you're not going to be selling them afterwards also. It's a difference also. If you get Saka and Havertz, you likely will be parting ways. It depends now if you want to commit yourself, I think, to a double Arsenal defense for a longer period. Because again, the defensive spots are more sticky. You're less likely to
Yeah.
be spending transfers there. So that also, I think, has to factor into your thinking.
And I don't want to commit. Like genuinely, 8 to 11 for Arsenal is Bournemouth away, Liverpool at home, Newcastle away, Chelsea away. I know Arsenal are Arsenal, but I think there can be value found in other defenses at that point.
Yeah, you can hop off to a Porto.
Yeah. Like that's the thing. That's all. Or you hop off, right? That's what, and I like the
You're getting the
attackers more.
structure. You're basically, it's more of a structural thing. And the problem when I was building the wildcard draft, I was struggling to find defenders I like. That's the thing. If you just get in your two perma plays, the third guy, at least you can manage around. You can even say, like, I'm just going to stick Leaf Davis in there, play him every week. That's fine. Just an attacking guy. Just less management of the defense.
Your perma play has to be Poro then.
Can. My point is the third one, if you want to spend it like
so if you're going Trent, perma play, and then 4.5, I think 4.5s don't need to be overthought now. Because Brentford 4.5 is just a gift. Look at those fixtures. Genuinely just go in with a nailed on.
If you're not going for Flecken.
If you're not going for Flecken, just like those fixtures are just there for the taking for a team like Brentford. So,
but
and then it's a decision between West Ham or Ipswich or Everton, I think. Or Forest.
I like Forest.
Forest, yeah. Like these are good, decent defenses to rely on.
Because there's a case also now you can talk about for going for Sells.
Yeah.
The Turner's gone. The Miguel guy, I think, is quite rusty. They won't get him a game anytime soon.
No, man. I still don't. You saw what he did in the last game. He almost conceded.
I remember that.
I am not going there.
That would have been full comedy.
Yeah, I'm not going there. All right. Other takeaways.
I think City Brentford, that's about it. You can move
Arsenal,
on to
Aston Villa, Everton.
Duran's goal, man. That was so good. It got me off my chair.
Does that make you worry about Watkins' minutes? It doesn't for me. I see people worrying about Watkins' minutes. I think it's hyperbole. Like, Watkins is Watkins. Like, he's top 5 player in the league.
By minutes here, are you talking starts or subs?
Minutes. By subs. Like, you think early subs might happen?
They have been happening.
I mean, there are two things here, right? Like reading what has happened in the last, let's just chat it out. Like, Ollie Watkins generally is a fitness monster. Runs for 90 minutes. What has happened early this season is he's had a little bit of a knock, or he said he's not been 100% fit, which is why the early subs have happened. Now what's happened is he got 83 minutes in the last game. Park that thought one side. The other thought is Villa have never been in the UCL, and UCL is really, really important to them. And for Emery to survive in UCL, he'll need to sort of maybe manage minutes for Watkins and Duran. Now that he has a striker who's capable of playing, how do the two merge? My thing is, I still don't think Watkins' minutes get sacrificed too much.
I still think early subs are going to be a factor with the Champions League around. Maybe 80, like you said, 67, 70, but obviously depends a lot on game state. Duran's just too good to be permanently sitting on the bench. Maybe they play them together at some point.
He spoke about it. The reason why he didn't play them last season together is because they didn't have sort of like a connection. And he said that collection is improving and developing now. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, that'll be interesting for Rodgers then, right?
Yeah.
Because Rodgers is playing alongside now.
And he was good, man. Rodgers is fine as 5 million.
3 shots on target.
Yeah, man. He looked good in the home game. I'm fine. I
remember that one chance for Watkins also doesn't count as a big chance created because it didn't reach Watkins, but it's just a few feet ahead of him.
Yeah. What Everton? We're interested in McNeil, we're interested in DCL, and to be monitored. If you're buying there, I think the price to buy, man. 5.4 million midfielder, 5.7 million striker, price to buy.
I want to talk about Villa's defense because I think Everton got behind them so many times. They're always going to give you chances. I don't think I can ever bring myself to buy a Konsa. Maybe a Dean because we're seeing that upside now, but that offside trap just looked way ropey.
And with Dean also, now Champions League is in place, so Matson and Dean will share minutes. Matson looked good the moment he came on. He looked really good, and Dean has looked good as well. So the existence of each other makes them non-picks.
Right. And with McNeil, obviously, I think that he did get the goal, but you're buying him primarily for his XA. He has attempted assists rather than his shot creation. No, I can hear you fine. Yeah,
Okay, you're buying him chance. No, I that's the thing. He's playing 10 now.
but the numbers aren't there, bro.
It will be there. Like they had tough fixtures, and now the fixtures ease up, and he's by nature of his position. I think he's going to be in better goal scoring positions than
I think I need to
previously.
watch the games back a bit more closely. I think I will
Yeah,
around the wildcard time.
yeah,
Because
Like,
algorithms love him. I was having a look
yeah.
at Talkwams and all the others. McNeil is right on top.
My only thing is that in that cheap striker bracket, Calvert Lewin is my favorite striker. I prefer him to the other striker. So I don't know if I want to double down, which is why I'll probably go with a Semenyo. Like that's the give and take, or Shada if he shows up. Just for your information, people that don't know, Shada is a 5.4 or 5.5 million midfielder in this game. So definitely going to be scouting him this week.
Yeah, if you need to squeeze in something like a Salah, Trent, Haaland, Watkins, Havertz, etc., then you might need to go for 2 5.5 mids. So Shada is
Yeah.
definitely one to monitor. And Brentford, Everton, they keep in mind they rotate perfectly.
Yep.
Home and away.
Bournemouth Chelsea. Zoff, I didn't ask you a question. How was Semenyo in particular?
Not that impressive. It didn't really look that concerning. Ultimately, they're getting it done about, but I thought the likes of Clivert and Tavernier looked far more threatening.
Then
But
Semenyo?
yeah, but I was primarily watching Chelsea more so than focusing on Bournemouth. I was watching Palmer very closely. Palmer didn't have a single shot the entire game. Can you imagine that last season?
Yeah. Like, how much of that do you read to down to how good Bournemouth were? Because I think they must have. I think the plan must be to stop Palmer supplying Chelsea, and Chelsea will stop supplying. Like I think that could have been the ton of action, because Bournemouth are high energy, etc. as well. So like people are. I've seen so many hot takes on Palmer and him being a non-pick this week. Like his last 3 weeks reached 17 points, 7 points, and then 2 points. Like he's doing fine. He's on pace. Like he did his bullying in the game he needed to bully in. So I wouldn't write off Cole Palmer too early.
Yeah, but I'm still not convinced. At 10.6, I think he's even the fourth or fifth best premium right now.
I don't know, man. I think it's Cole Palmer. I think he will stand up to be counted. And like Sancho is good for Palmer, like because Sancho is. I always felt that Sancho is great in functional teams. Like he's a good player if your team is sort of functioning, and he's better because he's more of a supplier than a shooter. So he's very accurate. He like does a couple of dribbles and will very incisively, like he passed to Nkunku at the end of the game, pass to the right player. I think that might be good for Palmer eventually as well.
Cool. I think what else we talk about Chelsea? Let's talk about Nkunku actually scoring that goal after his I think 0.4 or 0.3 price drop.
Yeah,
And
man.
he spoke about how Nkunku is clinical in the box and that's why he put him on. But why doesn't he bloody start with him then? I don't get it. If he's clinical, he finishes stuff in the box and start the game with Nkunku.
Because Jackson pulls the defenders a lot more, right? Like it's
Yeah, I guess.
Jackson's good. That's the thing. Like people, how sustainable is the fact that you bring on 350 million subs every game? Like, I wonder about it genuinely in terms of team chemistry. Like, do you think it matters or not?
It's very hard to say. Ultimately, I think the thing is he's going to give the other guys a lot of minutes in the Conference League, and I think that's the only way you can keep the squad happy. But from the
Yeah.
reports I've read today, what's emerging is that I think Neto is more likely to be a backup on either wings. I think the preferred lineup is Sancho on the left and Madueke on the right,
And
with
if you think
Palmer
about
playing
the
just
kind of
behind.
things like Maresca, system oriented, wants his players to take on and play the ball. Like Sancho seems like a Maresca kind of winger. Like,
He does.
yeah,
Not an FPL pick, obviously, right now.
not an FPL pick at the moment, but yeah, to be moderate.
Even the
Also,
defense aren't good. Even though we kept the clean sheet over there, I wouldn't be investing in the Chelsea defense.
and if people don't know already, Palmer is not in the Europe squad. So he's primarily going to be playing Premier League football with full midweek rests. I think that's an important point.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. And I think, we'll talk about it when Newcastle comes. Anyway, Spurs Arsenal.
I think we covered most of this already in our earlier
Yeah.
discussions.
But just while watching the game, like 3-4 times I said Kai Havertz, what a player. Genuinely such a good footballer. Like he does so much for the team. He's top of his confidence game, just a really good player.
I do think the absence of Odegaard affects Saka in particular on Arsenal's right-hand side. And this is
Yeah.
something, again, we have to keep in mind for those 6 and 7 fixtures, right?
Yeah. But like I mentioned this last part, we have to be very careful of what we read from the Spurs and the City games and extrapolate that as information for the Southampton Leicester games.
Good
Going
point.
to be completely different games because the team strength, the difference is day and night. Genuinely day and night.
Do Newcastle play in the Carabao Cup this week? I'm just gonna have a look.
No, they don't.
They don't. That's okay. So they
No.
play next week. So you're not going to get any Isak update before the weekend. The
Yeah.
news is it's an eye injury for him. He had blurred vision. That's why he had to be subbed off. We don't know whether it's a major thing. I would guess like it can be corrected by the weekend.
Yeah. Unless it's some sort of like
Actual
I don't
damage
know,
to the eye, you never know.
or something, or some brain sort of like I don't know
Yeah.
what blurred vision is. It's random. It's
Eddie Howe's going to tell us with absolute clarity anyway, right?
yeah, man. But this game, both teams defensively didn't impress. That was my main takeaway from this game. Both team afforded a fair amount of space to each other, and I'm waiting for the time. People are writing off Newcastle's slow start, but I think we need to be careful of reading too much into Newcastle's slow start and Palace's slow start because now onwards, when other teams are playing Europe, I expect Newcastle's stock to go up slowly as the European minutes add up for other teams.
Yeah, I think it'll more be seen on the other side of the international break because this time I think teams are still fresh. But as obviously the fixtures start piling up and
Yeah.
difficult fixtures is when you'll see the difference.
Do you read much into Arsenal playing on Thursday night and then playing the City game? Like
It
that's
is
the
tough,
first
and
time.
Pras mentioned this long back right when the fixtures came out. I think you do have to read into it. And Timber made a comment after the Spurs game is that like, we're going to go there and try to win at Man
Yeah.
City. I mean, obviously that players will always say that. How much you read into that, I don't know.
I mean, the Spurs game, if you ask me, was a dress rehearsal. Like Arteta said, we are going to practice how we're going to play against City by sitting back and letting them do their things, and that's exactly what they did. It was a dress rehearsal for the City game.
Right. But I guess with the more
Yeah.
threat on the counter, right? Against City, you have to have that threat when you play
Yeah.
the balls over them.
Arsenal are going to play to not lose. I don't think they're going to play to win. They're going to play to not lose.
Probably pose a threat on the counter because Brentford showed the blueprint the first 25-30 minutes as the best play to play Man City.
Exactly.
So before
He will
wrap
not
up,
want to give 3 points, especially in title races that are so tight.
let's just discuss captaincy before we move on to bus teams.
Salah, Watkins.
Salah, Watkins, any third?
Would you captain? Some people have shouted out Haaland captain. Why not?
I don't mind that. In fact, I would probably put like Salah, Watkins, Haaland. I would put Haaland maybe slightly over Watkins as well. I just don't trust Watkins enough yet.
No, man. My read of the Wolves defense is that Watkins' brace is there for the taking.
I would say that if it wasn't a derby games just always just make me think that anything can happen.
And you made me feel a lot more confident about the Liverpool Salah captaincy because this game might suit Salah more than the Forest game did. They will do better with space. I'm even optimistic about Jota even if it's 30 minutes. Like I like that open space situation. I wish I had Diaz for this game though.
I just seen a quote on Pedro on our WhatsApp chat. We have to see the training today if he's fully fit. Like I said, after Ipswich, we don't want to take any risk with him. We will decide whether it makes sense to let him play in the cup or not. That sounds very optimistic for the weekend.
It does sound good. It does sound good.
I think fair shout out with starting the weekend. Cool. I think we've done our bus teams already. Let's just do Pras's bus team really quick. Which is not. I think this is one with Joao Pedro in it. Pras has got Henderson, Trent, Konsa, Dunk, Jota, Salah, Rogers, Eze, Isak, and Joao Pedro with Haaland. I think 2 free transfers. If Isak is out, he'll probably do the move for Watkins.
To Watkins.
The money. And I think if Pedro is out, he'll probably just let Smith Rowe sub on.
Exactly.
That's where we are.
We've got a super chat. Let's answer that. And shout out to Zohab, who became a marquee signing, who signed up for the membership. For those of you all that missed out on Zoph's FPL preview this week, we had decided that after the first 3 weeks, it's going to be only for our YouTube members as well as Patreon members. So he already posted that on Monday morning, but it's only for YouTube and Patreon. What we will do is we'll leave that open for the public for the first game week of the month. So at least you get an insight into that. And the question, it's not even a question.
Vardy.
He's
He's asking about Vardy. We already
Good pick,
discussed
man.
him right at the top.
Premier League legend, Zoph's favorite pick this week.
Again, my answer could change. It's not. I don't think it's a clear switch between them. I'll probably update that in my team selection video. I'll leave it late because mainly I think Pedro's perfectly good pick, but I sort of want to take that on this week already being a bit behind.
Same. Same.
Cool. Let's wrap up.
Cheers, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. Any last words off?
Nothing much. Hopefully, we have a better weekend. In general, like, I don't know whether you feel the same. And obviously, people will say because we've had poor FPL scores, the football has felt a bit underwhelming so far.
Football has you teams haven't gotten into gear, man. The moment they started getting into the gear, the bloody international break came. The moment they start getting into gear, like I think, and also you take game week 4 with a pinch of salt. This is standard post international break. So
Especially
I'm
first
with you, man.
international break.
First international break. After a summer European and international like
You see the
CONMEBOL
comments also
tournament.
from Allison on the press conference yesterday for the Champions League. He's blasting the amount of games that players have to play and all that.
Exactly, man. Exactly. All right, man. That's it. And we have 3 more videos, at least maybe 4 or even 5 to go this game week alone. So make sure you're hitting the notifications button, click the like and subscribe, and we'll see you soon.
We'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us.